picture this scenario for a second. You've spent, I don't know, maybe the last couple of years building up this incredible website.
Oh, yeah, like a beautifully curated WordPress blog or
Mhm.
maybe a really sleek Squarespace portfolio.
Exactly. Or, a Wix site that finally, after hours of tweaking, looks exactly the way you want it to. You've got steady traffic, you've built up this really loyal audience.
Right. And now you're thinking, okay, it's time to monetize.
Yes, you want to sell something. Maybe it's a piece of custom merch or a digital download or some limited seasonal product. But here's the catch. You really don't want to burn down your entire site and build this massive online store from scratch.
Oh, totally. You just want a shortcut, a quick add-on.
Right, so you go looking for one, you type Shopify Buy button into Google, fully expecting like a quick 5-minute setup tutorial, but instead your stomach just drops.
Because the internet is absolutely screaming at you.
Yes, it's telling you the buy button has been completely discontinued.
It's that ultimate digital panic moment,
Yeah.
You're ready to finally launch your thing, and the search results make you feel like you've just completely missed the boat.
It's terrifying, but the good news for you listening right now is that it's essentially just a massive case of crossed wires.
Yeah, a really big misunderstanding.
It's honestly like taking your perfectly fine car in to get like a new stereo installed, and the mechanic looks at you gravely and says, the factory that makes your engine has completely shut down.
Right, and you're panicking about the lifespan of your entire car.
When really they're talking about the engine and you only came in for a radio. So today's deep dive is all about untangling those wires. We are breaking down a really comprehensive, roughly 18-minute source document titled Shopify Buy Button versus a full online store.
Yeah, and the mission here is really to separate the internet panic from the actual facts of e-commerce.
Exactly. We need to figure out whether you, with your specific website and your goals, just need a simple little HTML snippet, or if your business actually requires a full online store.
Because, honestly, critical thinking and understanding the terminology here is everything. Knowing the difference between a tool meant for everyday merchants and a library meant for, like, hardcore developers. That's the difference between a 5-minute job and a really expensive repair.
Right. So to figure out what tool you actually need, we first have to unpack this massive naming collision that caused the whole discontinued rumor in the first place.
It's a huge collision.
Yeah.
There were basically 2 different products floating around the ecosystem with almost the exact same name.
Which is wild to me.
Yeah, but one is very much alive, and the other is, well, dead. The product that is alive and well is the Buy Button sales channel.
Okay, so that's the one we want.
Exactly. This is just a simple tool you switch on in your admin dashboard. It generates a block of HTML code. You paste it into your website, and boom, you're done.
Just copy and paste.
Right. And that sales channel is actively supported. It's included in literally every Shopify subscription plan.
Okay, so if that HTML snippet is fine and I can just taste it, what actually died? Like, what caused all this panic?
All right, so what died was something called the JS Buy SDK.
JS Buy SDK.
Okay, yeah, SDK stands for Software Development Kit. So this was a JavaScript developer library. It was not a copy-paste tool at all.
It sounds a lot more complicated.
Oh, it was. It was a foundational piece of code that developers used to build completely custom storefronts. Like highly complex, totally bespoke checkout flows from scratch.
Okay, so they share a lineage, basically.
Yeah, they share a lineage, and unfortunately, they share half a name. So when the deprecation of the JS Buy SDK was announced, people just glanced at the headlines and assumed, oh no, the simple buy button channel is being killed off too.
I have to ask, though, why would a massive platform give 2 totally fundamentally different things essentially the same name?
I know, it's frustrating.
You've got, like, a copy-paste widget for a blogger on one hand, and then this complex developer library for engineers on the other. To the average person just Googling for help, they sound identical. How is a merchant supposed to quickly triage whether their site is facing a massive technical failure or if they just need to, like, upgrade a simple button?
Well, tech companies, they notoriously struggle with naming conventions. They often name things based on the back-end architecture instead of, what makes sense for the user experience.
Right.
But the triage process for you, the merchant, is actually really straightforward.
Right.
You just have to ask yourself how the buying feature got onto your site in the first place.
Okay.
If someone, or you, just copied a block of code out of a dashboard, pasted it into a page, and it renders a little product block with a standard checkout, you're dealing with the sales channel. You have nothing to worry about.
But what if, say, you hired an agency 3 years ago to build this really custom headless e-commerce experience?
then you were very likely dealing with that SDK lineage. And that situation came with a hard, absolutely critical deadline.
Right, the document mentioned July 1st, 2025.
Exactly. July 1st, 2025 at exactly 11:00 a.m. Eastern Time. Setups running on that old SDK had to either switch to the new storefront API client or upgrade to JS Buy SDK version 3.0 by that exact moment.
Or else what actually happens under the hood when a deadline like that hits? It's not like the code on the website just suddenly deletes itself.
No, the code on your website stays exactly the same, but the destination it's trying to reach, that just disappears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an SDK relies on APIs to talk to the platform's servers. When that deprecation deadline hit, the platform literally just shut off those specific server endpoints.
So it's just a dead end.
Exactly. The custom code on the merchant's website was suddenly sending purchase requests to a server door that had been bricked over.
Yeah.
Customers would click buy, the request would go nowhere, and the purchase simply wouldn't complete.
Wow. So it's really a massive lesson in technical debt. What was once this cutting-edge, beautifully custom-coded checkout flow eventually just became a liability with a ticking clock.
It really is. It's the hidden cost of total control. You get to build exactly what you want, but you inherit the burden of maintaining it forever.
Man. Okay, let's pivot to the merchant who just wants the simple, alive and well HTML snippet, the one who dodged that 2025 deprecation bullet.
Yeah, the lucky ones.
Right. If I'm using the basic buy button, what exactly is that pasted snippet injecting into my website? Because from the source material, it's clearly not just a hyperlinked word that says buy now.
Not at all. The anatomy of that embed is actually quite robust. It gives you a few different options depending on the exact user experience you're going for.
Okay, like what?
Well, the most basic is an individual product. It just renders an isolated product block right there on your page. And you can wire it to just add the item to a cart or send the user straight to the checkout, or even open a little modal window with more product details first.
Which seems perfect if you're writing, say, a focused blog post reviewing one specific item.
Exactly. But it scales up from there, too. You can embed a collection, which is a stable set of items grouped together in one block.
Like a batch of seasonal prints for an artist.
Right. Or maybe a podcast's apparel line, just a few related things. But honestly, the most powerful feature here is the embedded cart.
Yeah, the embedded cart feels like the piece that actually makes an external site function like a real store.
It totally is.
Because it's like this loyal digital shopping basket. A reader could click add to cart on a blog post, navigate away to read like 3 other articles, add another item from your about page, and that cart data just magically follows them across the entire session.
Well, forcing them to a checkout screen prematurely.
Exactly.
Maintaining that state across a session is crucial. It prevents a content-heavy site from feeling like a disjointed series of single-item transactions.
Right, it feels cohesive.
Yeah, it allows for a real browsing experience on a platform, like a regular WordPress blog that wasn't fundamentally built to route e-commerce traffic. And there's also this feature called cart permalinks.
Oh, yeah, the source mentioned those.
Yeah, there are standalone links that open a checkout already preloaded with specific items. You can drop those into an email campaign or a direct message, and it instantly bypasses the browsing phase entirely.
That's super smart. But as great as that persistent cart is, I did notice a major user experience red flag in the source document.
Oh, the checkout window.
Yes. The default setting for the buy button opens the checkout in a brand new browser window.
Yeah, that window setting is a really vital detail that most people just completely overlook.
I mean, think about it. You spend years building an audience, optimizing a sales funnel, building trust on your own domain, writing all this incredible copy, and at the exact moment the customer reaches for their credit card, your site physically kicks them into a different tab.
It's jarring.
It feels like a massive unforced error for your conversion rates.
It really is. Every time you force a user to change their context, you introduce psychological friction. You break the immersion.
Totally.
If a buyer is deeply engaged with your brand's aesthetic like your beautiful Squarespace site, throwing them into a sterile separate window just to type in payment details, it causes cart abandonment.
Yeah, I'd probably close the tab.
Exactly. The seamless integration of a persistent cart is completely useless if the final step of handing over money feels disconnected from the rest of the experience. Now, Shopify does allow you to configure the snippet so it opens in the same tab, but you have to know to go in and change that default behavior.
That is such a critical tip.
Ah.
Okay, so if the button is this versatile, like handles single products, it persists carts, it manages direct permalinks, I can easily see a scenario where a business tries to build a massive, complex pseudo store entirely out of HTML snippets.
Oh, people definitely try to do that.
Just to avoid setting up a proper online store.
Yeah. But portability comes with strict boundaries. You really can't just build a full store out of buttons. Those boundaries fall into two distinct categories.
Yeah.
The hard limits baked into the platform and the soft limits dictated by the architecture itself.
Let's look at those hard limits first. What's written in stone?
The most immediate roadblock is that the buy button channel is entirely incompatible with Shopify App Store apps.
Wait, none of them.
None. If your business relies on third-party upsell widgets or customer review blocks or, bundle builders, loyalty program pop-ups, none of that logic translates to the embedded button. The code you paste is a completely closed loop.
Wow, so no dynamic add-ons at all. You literally just get a button, an image, and a price.
That's it.
Wow.
And you also face strict restrictions with payment gateways. You have to use a supported gateway, but the most glaring, painful omission is that Apple Pay is not supported by the buy button sales channel.
Okay, that is a severe business cost.
Oh, absolutely.
Mobile commerce is so heavily driven by one-click digital wallets right now. If you rely entirely on an embedded button, you are stripping away the fastest, lowest friction checkout method for a massive segment of iPhone users.
Yeah, you're literally forcing them to physically pull out a plastic card and type 16 digits on a tiny mobile screen.
Which nobody wants to do anymore.
Right. It creates a measurable drop in mobile conversion. Also, there are structural limits around your business model. If you sell a subscription-only product, meaning there is no option to buy it just once, it can only be sold through the full online store channel, the buy button infrastructure just won't support it.
That makes sense. But honestly, the operational boundary that stood out the most to me in the source was how it handles design changes.
Oh, the styling. Yeah.
Right. The document says the appearance of a buy button cannot be natively changed after you embed it on your site.
Yeah, because the styling is generated alongside the HTML snippet when you first create it. So if your business undergoes a rebrand, let's say you change your primary brand color from a deep blue to a vibrant green. You can't just flip a switch in some central dashboard to update your external buttons.
Meaning I can't just rely on my website's global CSS to override it.
In most standard implementations, no. The snippet brings its own styling with it.
Oh, man.
So to update that color, you have to go into the Shopify platform, generate a brand new button with the new green hex code, then manually hunt down every single page on your website where you pasted the old code, delete it, and paste the new code.
If you've been writing a blog for 3 years and pasting buttons into 50 different articles, a simple aesthetic color change turns into an afternoon-long data entry nightmare.
It really does. Now, there are workarounds involving hand editing the HTML and CSS, but Shopify explicitly labels that as an unsupported advanced tutorial. For the average user, a site built entirely on static snippets becomes incredibly brittle over time.
Okay, so those are the hard documented limits, but what about the soft limits?
Yeah.
The things the source called documentation silence.
Right, the undocumented stuff.
Because there is no published way to apply discount codes natively inside the embedded cart. There are no point-of-sale rules like setting a local delivery radius or custom shipping rates just for the button channel. And crucially, a customer cannot search or filter a catalog inside an embed.
Right. And I think it's important to understand this isn't just Shopify being sneaky and forcing you to upgrade. This is where we hit the architectural limits of the tool itself.
What do you mean?
Well, the lack of search or filtering isn't some arbitrary restriction. It's a reflection of what the tool is actually meant to do.
It's the transition from a single transaction to a destination.
Exactly.
When you use a buy button, you are facilitating a transaction for an item a customer already knows they want, usually because they are reading a specific piece of content about it right then and there.
Right. But the moment your customers need to search through a database or, filter by size, sort by price, calculate localized delivery zones, you are no longer just selling an isolated product. You are offering a comprehensive browsing experience.
And a browsing experience requires a store.
Exactly. A buy button is a checkout lane you drop in the middle of a content site. If your customers need aisles, categorization, and a customer service desk, that infrastructure requires the full online store channel, not a button.
That makes perfect sense. Speaking of infrastructure, there is one highly specific place where using a simple buy button is explicitly discouraged, and ironically, it's on Shopify's own platform.
Yes?
The source notes they actively warn against pasting these buttons onto your own Shopify store or blog.
It does seem counterintuitive, right? Like, why discourage your own tool on your own platform? But technically, it creates a massive conflict.
I thought of it like putting a standalone vending machine right in the middle of a fully stocked operational grocery store.
That is a perfect analogy.
It just confuses the customer and breaks the flow.
Exactly. A Shopify store inherently possesses a built-in session management and checkout system. The embedded buy button brings its own isolated checkout system.
So if a merchant pastes a button onto their Shopify blog, they are layering a secondary cart directly over the primary one. You end up with two completely different systems fighting for session data and cookie dominance on the exact same domain.
Yeah, redundant systems clash. It breaks the continuity of the sale. If a customer has items in their main store cart and then adds an item via the embedded button on the blog, the systems just fight each other. You don't want two different shopping carts fighting for the same transaction.
So what should they do instead?
The cleaner, supported method for selling within a Shopify blog post is to use the cart permalinks we discussed earlier. You just hyperlink standard text or an image to a permalink, which smoothly routes the customer into the store's existing native checkout flow.
It's a great lesson for everyone listening. Just because a feature exists and is easy to use doesn't mean it belongs everywhere. Context is just as important as capability. So, if a merchant has weighed all these boundaries, let's say they have an external WordPress site, they only sell a few stable products, they don't need Apple Pay or complex filtering, and they want to move forward with the button, the final variable is cost.
Right, the bottom line.
How does the pricing actually break down if you're avoiding a full store build?
Well, the decision around plans for an embed-only setup is entirely about baseline price, not unlocking features, because the buy button channel is included across all subscription tiers.
Okay, good to know.
The two plans that bracket this specific setup are the starter plan, which is $5 a month with a 5% plus 30-cent online card rate, and the basic plan, which is $39 a month with a 2.9% plus 30-cent card rate.
But there's a vital caveat here for anyone listening who wants to start fresh today. The source points out that the $5 starter plan is no longer available to new stores.
That is the current reality, yeah. The starter plan only exists for merchants who are grandfathered in from previous pricing models. If you are launching a brand new business today, your actual financial floor is the $39 basic plan.
And I feel like that distinction alone will save people hours of frustration.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't understand the historical pricing changes, you'll be reading outdated blog posts telling you to go hunt for a $5 tier that simply doesn't exist for you anymore.
Exactly. And you really have to contextualize what that $39 is actually buying you. You are not paying a monthly subscription fee for a block of HTML code.
Right.
You're paying for the back-end infrastructure. You're
Yeah.
paying for secure payment routing, inventory syncing, and honestly, most importantly, visibility through reporting.
The analytics integration really is where the value crystallizes. The native sales reports automatically segment your traffic sources.
Yeah, the buy button gets its own clean, isolated column right next to the online store data.
Which means a business owner doesn't need to be some data scientist setting up complex UTM parameters or custom Google Analytics events just to see if their blog is actually making money.
Oh, it's all right there.
If you run a hybrid model, say a full store on one domain and a heavily trafficked editorial blog on another, you can instantly view the exact revenue generated by the embedded buttons compared to your main storefront. It makes testing a multi-channel content strategy incredibly straightforward.
Because clarity in your back-end data is just as vital as a frictionless checkout on the front end.
Completely agree. Well, we've covered the entire spectrum today. We've untangled the JS Buy SDK from the Buy Button channel, explored what the button can do with carts and permalinks, acknowledged where it breaks down with Apple Pay and subscriptions, and clarified the baseline costs for new merchants.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider.
It is. But before we wrap up, I want to pull back to the bigger picture. We started this discussion by looking at those developers who built highly complex, bespoke checkouts only to hit a hard 2025 deadline where their systems simply stopped working.
Yeah, and that scenario really highlights a provocative thought based on all the source material. It's the ultimate, inescapable trade-off in modern digital business. The tension between control and maintenance.
How so?
Well, when you utilize, so as you, the listener, Map out your own digital infrastructure. You have to ask yourself a foundational question. Are you optimizing your business for the freedom to customize your tools today, or are you optimizing for the freedom from maintaining them tomorrow?
Wow. That tension dictates almost every major tech decision a business makes. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take these insights, evaluate your own site architecture, and remember, don't panic the next time a search result tells you your tools are obsolete. Just check your wires. We'll catch you next time.